On September 9, 1971, a seemingly ordinary Thursday morning at the Attica Correctional Facility in upstate New York erupted into one of the most significant and tragic events in American penal history. What began as a protest over inhumane living conditions and demands for basic human rights quickly escalated into a 4-day standoff that would forever alter the landscape of prison reform and expose the deep-seated issues within the American justice system. Attica was a powder keg waiting to ignite. Overcrowding, racial tensions, inadequate medical care, and brutal treatment by guards were daily realities for the nearly 2,200 inmates. The prisoners, a majority of whom were Black and Latino, faced systemic discrimination and a profound lack of dignity. Their grievances were not new. They had repeatedly attempted to communicate their concerns to prison authorities, but their pleas fell on deaf ears. On that fateful morning, a minor incident involving a disciplinary action against an inmate sparked a spontaneous uprising. Prisoners quickly overwhelmed guards, taking control of large sections of the prison, including D Yard, where they held 42 correctional officers and civilian employees hostage. The inmates, now in control, organized themselves remarkably. They formed a negotiating committee and issued a list of 29 demands, calling for improved living conditions, religious freedom, political rights, and amnesty for their actions. These demands were not radical. They were fundamental human rights that had been denied to them for far too long. For 4 tense days, negotiations ensued between the prisoners and state officials, including Commissioner Russell Oswald and Governor Nelson Rockefeller. A civilian observers committee, comprising lawyers, journalists, and activists, was brought in to mediate. Hopes for a peaceful resolution flickered, as some demands were met, but the crucial demand for total amnesty remained a sticking point. Governor Rockefeller, despite pleas from the observers and the prisoners, refused to visit Attica, a decision that would prove to be catastrophic. As negotiations stalled, the atmosphere grew increasingly volatile. On September 13, 1971, Governor Rockefeller ordered state troopers to retake the prison by force. In a brutal and chaotic assault, hundreds of state troopers, armed with shotguns and tear gas, stormed the facility. The ensuing violence was horrific. In just a few minutes, 29 inmates and 10 hostages were killed by gunfire from the state police. Many more were wounded. The official narrative initially blamed the deaths of the hostages on the inmates, claiming their throats were slit. However, autopsies later revealed that all the deaths, both inmates and hostages, were caused by police gunfire. The truth was a devastating blow to the state's credibility and ignited a national outcry. The Attica Prison Riot sent shockwaves across the nation. It exposed the brutal realities of incarceration, the systemic racism within the justice system, and the state's willingness to use extreme force. In the immediate aftermath, there were widespread protests and calls for accountability. Investigations followed, leading to indictments against both inmates and state officials, though convictions were rare. The legacy of Attica is complex and enduring. While it did not immediately lead to sweeping prison reforms, it brought the issue of prisoners' rights to the forefront of national consciousness. It fueled the prisoners' rights movement, inspired legal challenges, and forced a re-evaluation of correctional practices. Attica remains a stark reminder of the human cost of neglect and the ongoing struggle for justice and dignity within our carceral system. The Attica Prison Riot was a tragedy, but it was also a catalyst. It forced America to confront uncomfortable truths about its prisons and the people within them. Its echoes can still be heard today in ongoing debates about mass incarceration, racial injustice, and the need for a more humane and equitable justice system. The lessons of Attica are as relevant now as they were over 50 years ago, urging us to remember that even behind bars, humanity demands to be seen and heard. In 1973, British band 10cc scored their first #1 with the song Rubber Bullets, based on the Attica Prison Riot. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more.